back in the mid 90s to the late 90s and to the early 2000s, and that was the time when I was in UP. Sobra talaga yung violence. That was an ordinary part of our everyday life as being in a member of the fraternity. Yung Tau Gamma, yung Triskelions, di ba? That's one of the, to most people, that's one of the most violent. Different chapters that we've had, there's so many wasted lives because of that. I just want to say na it's not all about the violence. It's not all about the gulo. There's a lot of blessings when you're a part of a fraternity. Now, I'm not saying that it.
Parang naalala ko, Clark, parang last year pa natin ito pinag-uusapan, at least ngayon natuloy na.
Almost 2 years, almost 2 years ago, I think.
2 years na ba? Ganun pa
Parang ganun nakatagal natin gustong gawin to.
Marami tayong mga pag-uusapan dito. Excited ako dito, partner, kasi syempre meaningful tong topic na naka-ready. One of the things that I'm surprised sa life mo is yung life mo sa fraternity. And that's something ba na comfortable kang pag-usapan ngayon, kasi that's something na parang gusto kong I've been curious, parang curious na akong tanungin din to, and baka kasi may mga taong like me na curious din sa ganitong bagay and wanna know more about sa ganyan. Comfortable kang ma-mention yung group that you are affiliated with, Brotherhood? Or
Oh yeah, sure.
So you're part of what again?
Sa sa UP Triskelions, most people know that as Tau Gamma Phi. Yun, mas kilala siya doon. So I'm part of the Triskelions, but I joined when I was in UP.
Copy yan. So siguro ang pinaka-question ko dyan, this is my own stigma, and probably ito rin yung question din ng mga maraming tao. The common stigma about fraternity is that it's more of like gulo, like riot, diba? Kumbaga, even if you ask a random parent, isasali mo ba yung anak mo sa isang fraternity? Siguro 8 times out of 10 masasabihin nila, wag, puro gulo lang yan dyan. Puro barkada lang yung mga ano dyan. So, tell us more, para for the benefit ng mga nakikinig right now, kung at least ma-clear man lang somehow yung stigma na yan. And, or aware ka ba doon na may ganung stigma? Tell us something about that, partner.
So, I think I'm dun sa stigma partner, no? Dun sa stigma clause, I'm very much aware of it. Kasi, back in the mid 90s to the late 90s and to the early 2000s, and that was the time when I was in UP, sobra talaga yung violence. That was an ordinary part of our everyday life as being in a member of the fraternity.
Oh.
So hindi ko talaga masisi yung mga tao pag sinabi nila, oh, puro gulo yan, huwag mong papasukin yan. And I will hold on to this thought, no, na lagi ko sinasabi na, and I read this somewhere, na parang you will never understand, and this is not to judge those who are not part of the fraternity. And this is not even a justification, but I just want to say this, no, na it will be very difficult for someone to understand what it's like being in a fraternity unless you have lived that life, actually being a part of it.
Okay.
Alam mo yun, mahirap talaga ipaliwanag, because from the outside, what you will actually see is people would usually ask me, what's the benefit of getting, of being a part of it? And it will be very hard to justify, lalo na kung kagaya ko na I'm a 90s kid na talagang danas ko lahat ng violence when I was a part of it. And maybe this is not the right time to actually, I know you know some of my stories about it already, pero maybe this is not the actual, not the right time. Maybe we can talk about some other time. But I wanted to really say na, in spite of all that violence, there's a lot of, how do I say this? I don't want to use the word advantage, but more like, for me, it was a blessing. For me, it was my saving grace. Because the kind of life that I've had, alam mo yun, it's not the ordinary kind of life na parang normal student, alam mo yun. Aside from what I've been through when I was in high school, aside from not being in a normal home, alam mo yun, parang hindi naman kasi ako lumaki sa, I grew up in a broken home, in a broken family. As early as 15, I was already working. I was a working student when I was in high school. I was a working student throughout college. And this, para sa akin, the life that I had, the fraternity had a big role in it. Not a negative, in a negative way, but in a positive way. So marami silang naitulong sa akin. And I could feel those blessings until now that I'm already, alam mo yun, right now, ilang
Okay.
isipin mo, ilang taon na ako, di ba? And nagtatrabaho na tayo, ilang years na nagtatrabaho. So, parang, I wanna dig deeper into that. And I'm not even trying to convince people to join.
Okay.
No, that's not my point. I just wanna say na, it's not all about the violence. It's not all about the gulo. There's a lot of blessings when you're a part of a fraternity. Now, I'm not saying that any fraternity you can join to, you get all those. No. In fact, yung Tao Gama, yung Triskelions, di ba? That's one of the, to most people, that's one of the most violent. To most people, that's
Talaga
the,
ba?
alam yun, parang,
Okay.
oo eh. Alam mo yun, lalo na sabi lang, member ka ng Tao Gama, di ba? People would like, my God, ba't siya ka pumasok? Di ba? That's how it is eh. That's how it is. That's the life that we've lived. That's the life that I've lived during the 90s and early 2000s. But now times have changed. Things are
Okay.
changing. And there's so many. Like ngayon, kami sa UP, we don't do hazing anymore. We don't do that anymore. And that's something that has really taken lives. So many lives.
Okay.
From the different chapters that we've had, there's so many wasted lives because of that. We are law-abiding citizens. We go with the anti-hazing law, and many of my brothers may not agree with me on this because there are other chapters who still don't agree to it.
Okay.
Pero ako, nakita ko kasi na nakita ko yung disadvantages eh. Nakita ko yung disadvantages of being in a fraternity, and that's why we're trying to change that. That's why we're trying to ano ba, tama ba yung term? Redeem ourselves? No, it's not really redemption. I don't even want to say redemption eh. Kasi whatever negative impression the people had on us was really because of the times eh. The times and how we blended with the times, which for the most part wasn't really the right way. Alam mo yun? And we're trying to change that now. So parang ganun. So nakatulong siya sa akin in so many ways. Nakatulong siya sa akin nung nag-aaral ako. But at the same time, and here's the thing, no? Here's the irony. Nakatulong siya sa akin nung nag-aaral ako, pero ilang beses din akong napahamak dahil sa kanya.
Okay.
Di ba? Nahirapan ako, marami akong troubles, marami akong naranasan because of being in a fraternity. But at the end of the day, like ko naisip na, I think the reason why we hated fraternities is because we tend to blame, when we're a member of the fraternity and we go through something really bad, we tend to blame the organization. Na parang, naman, kaya ako nagkaganto, kaya ako ganyan, kasi sumali-sali ako dito. But deep inside, at the end of it, if you really do a root cause analysis,
Okay.
it's not really the fraternity that's to blame. It's actually, deep inside tayo yan eh. You don't blame other people, you blame yourself too. Diba? Kasi if you're easily influenced, if you're easily, alam mo yun, parang ganun kasi nangyari sa akin, guys.
Okay.
So yun lang muna, yun lang muna. Go, I think you have.
No. I'm listening. Go. You can finish your thoughts muna, partner. Parang feeling ko you're leading into something great eh. Okay.
So, ang naging stand ko, honestly, okay, I'll just be very blunt, no? Kaya ako nag-hesitate kasi yung mga naranasan ko kasi sa fraternity is not and I know where other people might hear this, and I want to be a bit vague here. The experiences I've gone through with the fraternity is not the kind of experience that most members actually go through. Hindi naman, never mind the hazing, I went through that. Wag na yun. Alam mo yun? Hindi yun eh. Yung point ko, yung experiences ko being in the fraternity was not the usual experiences. Hindi yung mga gulo-gulo kasi ilang beses ko nang naranasan yun. I was a part of it for so many during my UP days. It's more on paano pa sabihin, consequences of my actions. Yun na lang. The consequences that I had to face because of my actions was very difficult for me. It almost stopped me from graduating. I had to stop 2 years. I had to leave college for 2 years before I actually had a change of heart and decided to come back. Alam mo yun? And when I came back, I thought I thought the shadow of the fraternity would not haunt me anymore. Pero nagtuloy-tuloy pa rin siya. Andun pa rin siya. It almost convinced me to really turn my back on the entire organization. Diba? But I survived because at the end of the day, I realized there's really no one to blame but myself. Whatever hatred the rival fraternities had towards me, I brought that upon myself. It wasn't just because of my brothers. It wasn't because of the other people. Alam mo yun, because I had a lot of angst when I was in college. Eh.
Okay.
I had a lot of anger, a lot of angst, and I had this tendency to really release it in the wrong way. So yun, napahamak ako doon. And when I graduated, I realized na I am to blame, not organization. So how can I became an instrument, one of the major sa UP lang to sa UP Los Baños. I became I became an instrument in trying to change the image of the fraternity from within. So, alam ko, aware ka, Chloe, dun sa outreach na lagi kong ginagawa.
True.
Diba? There's this outreach programs that I do every year. And how did that start? I became a president. I became a president of our alumni association. Diba? Each president has a term of 2 years. I became so passionate. Sabi ko, gusto ko maging president because it's one way of me helping in changing the image of what most people think about us.
Okay.
But deep inside, ginawa ko talaga yung excuse to help other people. Kasi naniniwala ako dun sa pay it forward, Chloe, eh. Naniniwala ako dun. And if I have an organization this huge, this big, why not get in, alam mo yun, be an actual part of the system, change it from within. How can I do that? Eh di naging presidente ako, di ba? Tumakbo ako as president. And when I won, dun ko talaga ako nag-effort talaga ako dun. I became very active in the board of trustees ng entire UP. Sa UP kasi, Chloe, sa Taogama, sa UP, there's 5 units. 5 campus yan. We joined together and then we call ourselves one UP. So meron kami ibang chapters from the outside. We have other schools, so many. And even sa mga barangays, we have that. But UP in itself has its own. So naging part ako doon, naging active ako sa board of trustees because I knew we could change it from within. We had the same heart. We were all on the same page. We had the heart to really change the image of the fraternity. And then naging president din ako. At while I was a part of the board of trustees of the entire UP system, naging president ako ng UP Los Baños. So doon ako nag-start sa outreach program. Sunod-sunod yun. And look where it got us. Diba? Nanalo kami ng Gawad Makiling.
Yeah, heard about
Imagine
that
that?
too. Yeah.
Diba? Nanalo kami ng Gawad Makiling Award because of what we did for the school na inaalagaan ng organization namin sa bundok ng Mount Makiling. We made education more accessible. We helped them in so many ways, not just with books, with solar power, and ang dami. We had a classroom renovated. There's so many that we've done over the years, and I think na it's really times are changing. I just think na gone are the days na when you say na fraternity, Taogama, ang alam lang niya ng gulo. Yes, I went through it. Yes, I still relive that in my head. And sometimes I still smile na parang grabe, nagawa ko yan. Alam mo yan. But at the end of the day, we go back to our roots. And our roots is to really help other people. Our roots is to really make a difference in the lives of other people. Hindi para gumulo, hindi para makipagbubugan. Kaya ako, I don't wanna encourage people to, come and join the fraternity. No, that's not my job.
Okay.
Hindi naman ako residente na I'm an alumni. Pero, I want others to see na firsthand, ako yung living proof na no matter how hard your life is with a fraternity, it doesn't end there. It's up to you to make a difference, and it's really all on you kung bakit nagkagulo yung buhay mo. Nagpadala ka di ba? Nagpadala ka dun sa and then that means maybe for a time your spirit was weak. Maybe for a time you got so easily influenced. Diba? But as you tend to find your personality, as you tend to find that strength of character in you, doon mo ma-realize ano ba talagang gusto mo gawin. Ang purpose ko lang ba sa fraternity? Makipag-away, makipaggulo? Diba? Hindi Alam mo yun? Yung purpose ko talaga ako, personal ko to Ang purpose ko is to make a difference in the lives of other people. So ngayon, kino-continue ko yun. In my own way. And that's why I love the fraternity. In spite of everything that I've been through, in spite of everything that those dark days of my experience with fraternity were really, it was really difficult. But in spite of that, sobrang saya ko. Kasi ngayon, we help each other. Sobra. At ganun kaming kumilos. I mean, at least I'm speaking for UP Kasi baka mamaya may brad ako na baka may brad ako dito na nakikinig. Tapos sasabihin niya na parang, hindi naman totoo yan Diba? So at least I'm speaking for UP. Ganun. But with all the other brads that I've been very close with, na ibang chapter employees, I have brads from other chapters sa sobrang mahal na mahal ko. Bakit ko sa mahal na mahal? Kasi nung time na estudyante ako, hindi to mga taga-UP ha, nung time na estudyante ako, chapters na from other schools or from barangay community chapters. But when I was a student, when I was a working student, wala akong makain, wala akong matirahan. Sila ang tinatakbuhan ko. Sila ang tinatakbuhan ko sa nagpapakaisan. And I know how, alam mo yun, parang ako, para sa akin, if you've helped me become who I am today, tatanawin ko yun ng utang na loob.
Okay.
Hindi ko talaga yung tatalikuran. I always remember that. So yung mga taong yun, I've made a promise to myself na, di ba, as much as I can help them, I would. So parang ano lang yan, parang, well, it's like paying it forward. At the same time, also, you know, good karma. Parang ganun.
Well, I can feel, you know, siguro naman yung mga listeners feel din siguro yung sincerity and yung talagang passion mo pag share na sarili mo experience kanina, no? Interesting din lang talaga, merong question kasi ako, that's something na I also asked back then. Let's say a person wants to join a fraternity, di ba? Ano ba talaga yung pinaka-reason? Ano ba talaga yung pinaka-core reason why such person should join? Again, you're not here to invite. Kasi sa pagkakaalam ko, and this is speaking from my own experience, marami akong kilalang kaya nag-join ng fraternity. It's because for protection. Kasi in case daw na pakala may makaaway sila, meron silang tatawaging mga ka-brothers nila. Yung iba naman, it's more sinister na parang kaya ako mag-join para I get to do violence din sa iba or I get ano mo, and again I'm not saying to sa mga listeners, I'm not saying na nangyayari to sa lahat, but this is just from my experience. Pero ano ba talaga? Diba? Kasi yun ang alam kong common reason. So with your experience coming from someone na nasa alumni talaga, naging presidente pa for 2 years, ano ba talaga yung, let's say, pinaka core objective reason, benefit, why a person such join a fraternity, especially Tau Gamma?
Siguro sa akin, guys, I want to start by saying na I joined the fraternity for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
Doon ko sisimulan.
Okay.
And I think I'm one of those people who was blessed enough to survive those times, those dark days. And then, you know, come to a realization na dapat hindi ko ito ginagawa. Alam mo yun? Dapat hindi kami ganito. So parang ganon. So balikan ko yun. Why did I say I joined for the wrong reasons? I was very young. Diba? I was a freshman in college. Tapos, I had a lot of angst, I had a lot of aggression, and I just felt na I needed an outlet, alam mo yun? And an organization who will accept me for who I am. So, dun pa lang alam mo na mali dun pa lang parang, if that's the kind of mindset that you have, imagine where you will find yourself. Diba? I always find myself in trouble when I was in college kasi nga I had that mindset. It was an excuse. Ngayon kaya kong sabihin yan, pero noon when I was young, I was in denial. Hindi ko sasabihin yan.
Okay.
Na, diba? Kasi you're young and you're so paano ba sabihin? Immature, diba? Like I said, I joined for the wrong reasons. Pero ngayon, na-realize ko na parang dati, lagi kong i-justify. Every time I get into trouble, I will try to justify it. To put myself in the right situation. To put myself for me to convince myself na tama ako. But now, as I grew older, I realized na parang all of that was an excuse. It was an excuse for me to find an outlet to, alam mo yun, with all that rage, I needed an outlet, parang gano'n. And it's wrong. Di ba? Because I was one of the lucky ones. I was blessed enough na hindi ako nakakulong ngayon. Di ba? Okay. Parang gano'n. Because I have friends na nakakulong hanggang ngayon. I know people na hindi na nakaalis, hindi na nakalabas. So parang gano'n. I'm not one of those, but it could have been me. So parang gano'n. So mali talaga. Now, going back to your question, what's the real reason why do you want to join a fraternity or an organization for that matter, diba? Because there's a lot of fraternities in UP. And a lot of these fraternities are good. Honestly. And I'm not being biased to just the Triskelions. I'm being, ano ba tawag doon? I don't want to use the word bias, but I'm a witness kasi to the advantages of what you can give you.
Okay.
So kung ako tatanungin mo, when you join a fraternity, it's to build your strength of character. It's to make you, it's supposed to be positive. Okay. No, you know, it's supposed to build your personality. Hindi ko sinabing wala kang personality pagpasok mo. But when you're young, it's normal. Parang ganito lang yan eh. Pag pumasok ka sa college, di ba? Hindi lang naman fraternities ang organizations eh. There are academic organizations, there are social civic organizations, di ba? So for example, you love, let's say, you love movies, for example, or you have a certain passion, you join an organization that shares the same passion. Parang ganyan. Now, why fraternity? Kasi the passion of fraternity, the idea of it is that brotherlyhood, brotherly love, that kind of mindset na you're in a place na kahit wala kang totoong kapatid, you are surrounded by people who will treat you like their own, who will treat you like a brother. However, it was used in the wrong context.
Okay.
For many years, it was used in the wrong context, diba? Na tipong kapatid kita kahit mali ka. Di ba?
Okay.
Kampian, di ba? Parang naging ganun and it became too violent. The culture became very violent. It was, kaya nga sabi ko, but mid-2000 siguro nag-start yun. The rumbles, the frat wars started to die down. The student, ano ba tawag na? The student tribunal, the Office of Student Affairs in UP became more rigid, more strict with the laws that they had inside campus. Alam mo yun, everyone who was a member already knew na if I do this, if I do that, I could get expelled, which to me is actually good. So ngayon, mas marami nang gumraduate sa amin, mas marami na may magagandang buhay. Kasi yun naman talagang purpose mo When you join a fraternity, it's for you to have a good future. It's for you to build your strength of character, not to destroy your life.
Okay.
Di ba? Kaya lang yun yung nangyayari sa amin before Kaya sa amin, alam mo, Clois, ito joke to sa amin noon and I love my brads. I really love my brads very much. Hindi naman lahat kasi we are of different personalities, different colors grouped together. Pero meron ka makukuha ng mga tao dyan na mahal mo talaga, na para mo talaga tunay na kapatid. And nung time na yun, nagtatawa na kami kasi every time may graduation, bilang mo ang membro ng Tao Gama sa UP na nagmamarcha. Kasi nga sobrang gulo nung panahon namin So it's either you get expelled, di ba, or you just leave on your own personal choice kasi you realize na if I stay here, hindi na ako gagraduate at masisira ang buhay ko. Okay. So alis na lang ako. Diba? I will create a better future in another school. Most of us did that. I almost did that. I stopped for 2 years. I almost did that, go back to UP. So alam mo yun, so ngayon, dami nang gumagraduate. Pag graduation ngayon, tuwan-tuwa kami. Because there's so many younger brads who are marching the stage. And what does that mean? It means our fraternity will survive.
Okay.
Because we will have professional brads, di ba? Ngayon, tuwan-tuwa ako kasi dati wala man lang kaming lawyer sa UP Los Baños. Ngayon, there's so many of us who have become lawyers. So many of us have become doctors. And that's what it's all about
Okay.
When you join a fraternity, you help each other grow. You help each other build a good future, di ba? Not to pull each other down. Hindi para makulong yung isa. Di ba? And you're supposed to be a good example to the younger blood. You're supposed to be a good example of what to do with what is right to do with your life. Unlike ko nalang sinasabi, kung ano yung nakikita na balitaan nila about us during our time, yan yung example of what not to do. Di ba?
Okay,
Yan yung huwag niyong gawin.
Okay.
Kaya ako ngayon, Clois, to be honest, siguro 2 beses na akong kinuha ng fraternity ng organization namin sa UP Los Baños to do a talk. Meron kasi kami induction ball every year. So every year, we hold an induction ball, naka-formal yan lahat, nasa isang parang, alam mo yun, grand hotel kami, and then we induct the new officers coming in, and then the outgoing ones, and the new members too. And they would always invite an alumni to do an inspirational talk. Siguro nakadalawa na ako, or 3 kung hindi ako nagkakamali. And my stories are always the same, my own experiences, and how not to, alam mo yun, how not to destroy your life. Parang ganon. Or how to make a difference in your own life. How to do it differently. How to make something out of your life. Yun ang lagi kong testimony. Kasi nga, naranasan ko yun. And I hope the other listeners who we have right now will also realize na the fraternity is really not a bad thing. Yes, for a time, I admit, there was really a time that being in a fraternity was really a stigma and nobody really wanted to join. But times have changed. People are different now. There's a lot of good things about being in a fraternity. It's not just about the connections, but believe me, the connections itself can help you a lot. But it's not just about that. When I say connections, it's more like you need a good job. You need a job when you just graduate.
Network.
We have a lot. Network, exactly. Diba? May network na So, a brother of ours is a CEO for this or a director for this company and he needs people who can join. Diba? Parang ganon. So, it helps.
So kumbaga, kasi I'm trying to process everything and trying to i-squeeze siya into an idea na pwedeng easily ma-access ng isang person na baka gustong malaman kung, or at least ma-clear yung stigma, or baka may interest mag-try, magsumali sa mga organization. Pero what you're saying is that the fraternity itself, okay naman talaga yung pinaka-objective niya kahit noon pa. Ang pinagkaiba lang is that noon, it was used for a different purpose, kaya hindi siya okay. Now, mention mo ilang beses na that was before. So now, kumbaga hindi siya nagbago in a sense na we change the purpose. The purpose remained the same. Ang nagkaiba lang ngayon is that the fraternity, at least sa grupo na meron ka, like the Tau Gamma and UP, is that you're trying to go back to its original purpose naman talaga.
Yes,
Ganun
it's back
ba?
to basics for
I don't know kung that's something na iba na ngayon. Mostly ng mga org ngayon, ganun na siya ngayon na hindi na really more reflect the violence and gulo.
Yes. Yes.
You can also say that.
Yes.
Kasi baka iba they want to join a certain organization but it's not Tau Gamma. Baka ibang
Yes.
org. Baka isipin kasi nila, ay baka naman sa org na Tau Gamma lang yan and UP lang yan. So, can you also parang, I'm not saying assure kasi we cannot be right all the time, di ba? Pero masabi mo naman siguro na times have changed na nga talaga and most of the orgs nowadays are now going back to the roots naman talaga why we're doing it.
Yes. Actually, I want to add to that, no? Tama ka doon eh. I cannot assure because I speak for my organization. So hindi ko kayang sabihin kung ano nangyayari sa
iba
mga for example, sa ibang fraternities, di ba? Hindi ko kayang sabihin 'yon. Pero kaya ko nasasabi na times have really changed. Kasi nga, even in UP alone, the reported frat wars is so few, sobrang dalang kung meron man. The fights that you get to see, the violence is so minimal inside campus, which is the total opposite during my time.
I'm trying to wear the hat of a person na trying to know more about it and at the same time might have the interest to join. No? So you were saying na siguro if there's one benefit, of course, there's a lot of benefits. But if there's one benefit na pwede nating ma-pick agad and this is something na probably the good reason for you to join is yung sense of community talaga ng brotherhood. Can you expound more why siya maganda? Kumbaga, do you have a certain experience na bukod lang sa gulo na brother, may kaaway ako pagtulungan natin, breast baka natin. Pero sa ibang bagay naman na more and positive, di ba? Meron ka bang certain experience sa parang when you were a student back then, nakatulong sa'yo yung group in a good way? Kumbaga na-exercise yung brotherhood. Do you have any?
Okay. Yeah. So as a student muna, kasi sabi mo you were a student. Okay, as a student, balikan ko yan. When I was a student, and I think this is not just happening with our organization, but with all other organizations. One of the benefits of being in one is that you help each other academically. Gustong-gusto ko yun. Kasi when I was a student, we actually kept like for example, simple na natin books, for example. You have senior brads who have books from from other subjects or alam mo yun, that they know might be an advantage or can be used by the younger brads. We keep it. Whether kahit hindi pa namin alam kung sinong kukuha nito, sinong mga kailangan nito. Kasi iba-iba kayo ng kurso eh. Siyempre, hindi naman, but there are general courses wherein everyone has to go through. So, nag-share kami. Nagtutulungan kami. So, kung ano man yung meron ka na hindi na gagamitin, na nagamit mo na, pwede mo ipasa sa mas bata. Diba? That's a very good advantage. That's just one. And like I said, even the other organizations are doing this, I'm sure.
Okay.
Ginagawa nila yan.
Okay.
Tapos, another one is the, what you call this, the exams. Ito, natatawa ako dito. At least nung time namin, bawal kang magkabagsak. Kasi pag nagkakaroon ka ng bagsak, nagkakaroon ka ng disciplinary action. And remember, during my time, and like I said, wala pa namang mga anti-hazing law noon, or well, at least meron na, pero hindi pa ganun ka rigid pa, hindi talaga na-enforce na maayos. Kung yun yung gusto mong future para sa sarili mo, kailangan paksa mo yung mga exams mo. Kung wala kang pakialam at lagi ka lang nagiinom, lagi ka lang lasing, hindi ka papasa. Diba? Don't you think that you will be more beneficial to organization kung makagraduate ka? And it's not just for organization but for yourself. Kasi lagi namin sinasabi na meron kami inside the organization, we always say na the top priority should always be God, family, and then your organization. It's never number one organization, number two family. No, it's never like that. It always has to start with God, family, and then organization. So, di ba? Kailangan mong, you have to be something. You have to make something out of yourself. Eh, yun nga, kung bagsak ka ng bagsak. So, advantage yun. As a student kasi tinanong mo ako, advantage yun. Kasi ayaw mong masaktan eh. So, ipapasa mo yung, ano mo.
Yung exam mo,
Ipapasa
no?
yung, sa exam mo. Di ba? So, yun. Tapos, ang iba na lang, no? Yung iba na lang, which is, I think that in itself is already alam na natin na overall niyan is helping each other to become better people, become better individuals. But aside from that, dun sa mga naghihirap na mga kapatid namin, na mga brothers namin, yun, isa ako doon. Doon yun yung naranasan ko. They give me shelter, they give me food to eat. I have a brother of mine, no? I don't wanna mention the name. Na sobrang mahal na mahal ko kasi he's older than me few years, pero nagkataon na meron kasi isang apartment. They own an apartment in near the area, near the sa labas ng campus. When I had nothing, nowhere to stay, no money to pay, he took me in.
Okay.
He took me in. Naging ka-close ko yung nanay niya. Alam mo yun? Parang ganun. Alam mo yung mga little things na ganyan, malaking bagay yan eh. Kasi when people help you, you will feel na you can make something out of your life because someone actually believes in me.
Okay.
Diba? Eh kung itong brad ko na to, itong pamilya niya, sobrang tumutulong sa akin, bakit ko sisirain ang buhay ko? Bakit ko, diba, tinutulungan ka na nga, tapos magpapabaya ka pa? Parang ganun.
Makes sense.
Diba? Diba? Kaya yun, those are the little things. Grabe yung mga naitulong nila sa akin
Yeah.
yung times na yun.
Super interesting and super insightful. And those are din by the reason, you mentioned kasi na ang dami mo nakuwang help, di ba? Not just during your student days but also now. Yung mga bagay din, yung ba na yun are also the reason why you're paying it forward kasi you feel like meron kang, I'm not sure if I'm using the right term here, but debt of gratitude or parang compelled ka lang kasi you feel like this organization helped you a lot at kailangan mo siyang i-pay forward or something like to that effect.
Yeah, in a way you are right, but it's not just the organization. I've always had this I've always embraced the idea of paying it forward.
Okay.
Kasi
Nasa'yo na siya mismo.
bago pa lang,
Nasa'yo na siya mismo.
kasi bago pa lang throughout my life, sobrang nomadic kasi ng buhay ko, Cloys eh. Sobrang, alam mo yun, I was for the most part of my life, my dad I've never experienced being with my dad.
Okay.
And then my mom was in and out of my life. Parang ganun, bata pa lang ako natuto maging independent. So doon ko na embrace yung pay it forward. When I graduated from high school, tas tinulungan ako ng high school advisor ko. And that's a different story from another time, no? Pero nung tinulungan niya ako, sobrang ano yun. Sobrang na-embrace ko yung idea na paying it forward. Kaya when I got into UP, at nag-join ako ng organization at nakita ko kung paano lang tinulungan, maraming beses ako napahamak ha. To be honest, that's a different story. Pero ang dami din. Oo, pero alam mo yun, at the end of the day, lagi yung iniisip, ano ba yung do I count the negatives or do I count the positives na nangyayari sa buhay ko? Kasi if I dwell on the negatives, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
Di ba? I'm going to experience that self-pity and bring myself down. But if I focus on the positives, di ba, kahit hirap na hirap akong graduate ng high school, meron akong advisor na tumulong sa akin. Kahit hindi ko mabayaran yung tuition ko ng high school, meron akong advisor na naghingi ng tulong sa mga teachers para pagtulungan yung tuition ko para lang ako makapartya.
Wow.
Yung mga bagay na ganyan. Alam mo yun? Magre-reklamo ba ako o magpapasalamat?
Okay.
So yun, binibilang ko yung positives na nangyayari sa buhay ko. Kasama na ngayon yung organization. So when you say na, is it because of them that you embrace pay or you want to pay it forward? No, not just them. They're just a part of it. They're just a small part of it because there's a lot of people who have helped me in my life and they never asked for anything in return. They never said, Clark, bayaran mo ako. And doon ko na-realize na parang, that's why I'm so passionate with helping other people. Alam mo naman yan, like ko sinasabi sa inyo, di ba? Pay it forward, pay it forward. That's why I'm so passionate. That's why I when I was president of the organization ng alumni association namin, nag-create ako yung outreach program that benefits the students in this school sa Mount Makiling. Kasi naisip ko sila yung mas nangangailangan ng tulong kasi wala silang kuryente. So I became very passionate about paying it forward. And not just sa school na yon, even with other people na makaya kong tulungan. Gumagawa ko ng sarili kong paraan kasi nga, para sa akin, tulong ko na lang to dun sa mga taong tumulong sa akin na hindi man lang humingi ng kapalit.
Okay.
Ipapasa ko na lang sa iba, tapos tulungan ko sila. Ganun. Hindi lang, not just because of the organization.
Yeah, exactly. Diyan ako actually gusto kong mag-lead, you know. Kumbaga, you wanna pay it forward not because you wanna give back dun sa same org or same group of people. Kumbaga, na-instill sa'yo, parang compelled kang maging matulungin na tao because the life itself naging matulungin sa'yo. Parang ganun eh. Alam natin dalawa yan, intimately alam natin na you had your own like past na talagang sobrang, diba, hirap. Na-share mo na yan sa akin. And I don't know kung someday may share mo ba natin dito sa podcast and whatnot. Pero ako rin mismo, I also have my own share of parang dark days, kumbaga. Diba? And minsan ng mga tao, parang pag ang life feeling nila hindi naging okay sa kanila, wala rin silang parang energy to help din or mag-pay forward kasi nga feeling nila the life has been not good to them. Pero going back as sa mention mo, kahit pa gano'n ka-dark ang days mo, just have to pick and choose. Mas marami pa rin talaga yung positive kung tutuusin lang eh. Kung titignan mo talaga siya in a bigger picture. And that alone can compel you to be a grateful person and of course, the consequence maging helpful na person. Tama ba? Tama ba yun?
Galing mo doon. Ang galing mo doon, partner, ha?
Tama ba?
Yun.
Tama ba?
Yes.
Yan. Ayos yan. So, ganito, partner, no? Marami na tayong napag-usapan. Solid naman din yung mga napag-usapan natin. Quick lang, no? How do you feel about it sa mga topic natin? Hiking, just a quick highlight lang. It's a good thing. People should try it. What about you, partner, sa hiking?
Yeah, I agree, partner. I think just to remind our listeners na din, no, na hiking, it's not just good for your health, it's not just good for your well-being and for your peace of mind, it's also good for your soul.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, no, yung very juicy na topic natin, yung stigma and fraternity. So, pinaka-highlight here is that's true, but that was before. It's now different, and people should not fear, kumbaga, joining if they have an interest. And of course, wag din i-judge lahat kasi hindi naman lahat. Tell us your highlight about that topic, partner.
Going back, no, kung ako, if I were to, recap briefly yung sa organization or sa fraternity, I would say na now is the better time to join than before. Times have changed, the culture has changed, and I know I'm only speaking for my organization, and of course being in UP, so hindi ko alam yung sa iba, no, minsan sa ibang schools they tend to have a different culture, but at least dito ngayon sa amin sa UP Triskelions, times have indeed changed. I would say that this is a better time, a perfect time to join, and you get to reap the benefits of being a part of one.
Awesome. All right, so yung what's next naman sa atin, no? Of course, this is the first natin na podcast na matagal natin pinlano, but definitely will not be the last. So meron pa tayo next natin na session, and we will be discussing a lot of things. Of course, meron akong mga naiisip. For sure, may mga naisip ka rin na gustong pag-usapan. Pero I'm also inviting din, kung meron man tayong mga listeners, kung meron kayong topic or question na gusto namin pag-usapan, i-discuss dito, you wanna know our insight about those things, feel free to comment, to PM me, or kung friends kayo ni Partner Clark sa ecosystem ng friends niya, PM nyo siya. Pare, maganda pag-usapan nyo ito sa next new session. Diba?
Actually, looking forward ako doon.
Saan ka looking forward? Sa mga topic?
Sa mga topic na pwede natin pag-usapan. Marami tayong ma-reveal.
Exactly.
Kailangan maging careful.
Pwede naman mag-edit eh. Pwede naman maging careful, pero kung di mapipigilan, pwede naman mag-edit. Pero yon. Thank you lang din sa mga nakikinig sa atin. Of course, partner, thank you sa time. Hindi madali maghanap ng time para maituloy ito, but of course, nairaos natin. And invite mo lang din siguro yung mga kilala mo na kung meron sa time.
Lalo na dun sa mga nakikinig, lalo na sa mga brads ko, there's a lot more that we will be talking about. So yun, I would invite the others to really listen in.
All right.
There's so many more interesting topics that we can talk about.
True, that is so true. All right. Peace, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.